Okay, we'll start with counting first because I think counting is quite a simple topic that most people have some experience with. If you think about it, everybody has clapped along to a song at some point or tapped their foot to a song or danced to a piece of music, okay? So if you've done any of those things, or even if you haven't, then you will know the point of this section, which is that music has to be performed to a regular count. So that said, let's have a look at our first tunes. I've chosen a couple of tunes. They're actually children's nursery rhymes. So I've chosen them because they're pretty simple, and I've actually found that they're a really good way, perhaps because they're quite simple and short, they're a really good way to learn how to count. The first thing I'd like to draw your attention to is this line, and this line, and this line, and all these similar lines that go through the piece of music. These are called bar lines, okay? And they denote how the music is divided up. It's divided up into divisions called bars. Here's one bar, here's another bar, here's the third bar, here's the fourth bar, and so on, okay? In each of these bars, we have to count a certain number of beats. To find out how many beats we count, we look at this number here, okay? So these two numbers taken together are what we might call the time signature, and it's the top number that we want in this case. The top number tells us how many beats there are in a bar. In this case, it's the number 4, so that tells us there are 4 beats in every bar. So what does that mean? That means every bar gets a count of 4. So as we're playing, we're counting 4 beats in every bar. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until we get to the end of the piece of music. This number isn't always a 4. Sometimes it's a 2, in which case we'd count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It could be a 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It could be a 6, it could be a 5, okay? But the important thing is we count a number of beats in every bar, and that number there tells us how many beats we count. So this tune is in 4/4 time, and we count 4 beats in every bar. Okay, that's what that means. Okay, now let's have a look at this bottom number, which in our case is a 4. The bottom number tells you which note gets a beat. To understand this more fully, let's have a look at the different kinds of notes that we might come across. Okay, on this page are 4 different types of note, okay? Let's have a look at the first type of note. You'll see that our time signature is the same, so it's 4 beats to the bar, and we have a 4 below. The 4 below means this note gets a beat. So if we're counting 4 in a bar, which we are in this case, we would play 4 of these notes. These notes are called quarter notes, or in the UK where I am, we would call them crotchets, but Americans would call them quarter notes, and I think that's what they are most widely known as. So let's call them quarter notes. So this tells us that a quarter note gets a beat. This tells us that there are 4 beats in a bar, which means in every bar, that bar goes across the whole top of the page, we would play 4 quarter notes. Let's come down a line. Here we have, you can see that we only have 2 notes in our bar, and remember that we have 4 beats in our bar, okay? So these are what we would call half notes, or minims, okay? You can see the difference. Firstly, there's only 2 in a bar, and they have a hollow bit in the middle, as contrasted with the crotchet or the quarter note, which is solid in the middle. And it's very simple maths. A half note lasts as long as 2 quarter notes, okay? So if we were counting, we're in 4/4 time, 4 beats to the bar. If we were counting this bar, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'd play a quarter note on each count. If we were playing this bar, we would still count 1, 2, 3, 4, but each note would last for a count of 2. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have another kind of note. You'll notice this note is hollow in the middle and it doesn't have a tail. You'll also notice that there is only one note in the whole bar. This is a whole note, okay? So a whole note is worth 4 quarter notes, and you would count it. If you were counting 1, 2, 3, 4, because you're in 4/4 time, you would count 1, 2, 3, 4, you'd play the whole note on the first beat, and it would last the whole length of the bar. So it would just literally be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next, and then on with the next bar. Talked about quarter notes and notes that are multiples of quarter notes, okay? So here's our quarter note, here's our half note, here's our whole note. Now we've got a couple of different kinds of note down here, and these notes are fractions of quarter notes. This note is an 8th note, and this note is a 16th note. So for each quarter note, we would play 2 8th notes or 4 16th notes. Okay, it's just simple maths again. Now, the trick when counting music, when you have notes that are shorter than quarter notes, is to have a syllable in your counting for each of the notes that you're playing. I find that's a very useful trick for working out how to count these kind of notes. So for these, you could just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But as I said, it helps to have a syllable for each of the notes you're playing. For quarter notes, for instance, you could count 1 and 2 and, okay? So you play 1 on the count and 1 on the and. So you go 1 and 2 and. For 16th notes, you need 4 syllables for every beat. So typically, you might hear people say 1A and a, 2A and a, okay? 1A and a, 2A and a. And if you were playing this whole bar, you might go 1 and 2 and 3A and a, 4A and a. Okay, so let's go back to our tunes and let's have a look at this first tune, okay? So we're in 4/4, so we know we have 4 beats to the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've got a 4 down here, which means a quarter note gets a beat, okay? We've only got, you'll notice, 2 different kinds of note in this tune, quarter notes and half notes. So how do we count this tune? So for those that don't know, this is a very simple tune, and the lyrics of the tune go as follows. I'm going to tell you the lyrics first because the lyrics are really helpful for working out how we count the tune. Okay, so the first line is London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. And we would count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. The second line and the lyrics go, London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady, okay? And we'll count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully pretty straightforward. Let's now have a look at another simple tune. Let's have a look at Humpty Dumpty, okay? Helpfully, the lyrics are written down this time. So we've got Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. As before, we have a 4 as our lower number, okay? So that means the quarter note gets a beat. You'll remember from last time, that's a half note. So a half note is worth 2 quarter notes. What is different this time is that we have a 3 at the top there. So that means this time there are 3 beats to the bar. So in every bar we count 3. So we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on. I think it's worth saying at this point that the lengths of the notes refer to how long the notes are relative to a quarter note, okay? So a half note, obviously that's worth 2 quarter notes. And if we had a whole note, that would be still worth 4 quarter notes, okay? So the fact that we have only 3 beats in a bar doesn't really affect the length of the notes relative to each other. If you had a whole note in any of these bars, it would actually play over into the next bar, okay? Because it lasts 4 quarter notes and you've only got room for 3 quarter notes in each bar, okay? That's just a little hypothetical aside. It's not going to be a problem in this tune because in this tune we only have quarter notes and half notes, okay? Let's just have a little look at how the lyrics relate to the notes. If we were counting it, we would count it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That there is a quarter note rest, okay? Going through that again with the lyrics this time, we would go Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, okay? So you can tell, hopefully, from relating it to the lyrics that this note is twice as long as this note, and that gives us our rhythm.